It was a cold, moonless night on Coldwater Street, the kind where even the wind seems to hold its breath. Every house sat in silence, but one stood out, its windows dark and lifeless. Yet from inside came faint, flickering shadows, like someone or something was moving just out of sight. Locals whispered about screams echoing at midnight, doors that slammed on their own, and shadows that weren't cast by anything living. Tonight, you're going to step inside that house, a place abandoned for decades, but alive with a terror no one dares speak of. What lurks behind its rotting walls? Just a story it. It's a nightmare that waited patiently, ready for the next person brave or foolish enough to enter. The night was unusually quiet as Emma and James pulled up in front of the decrepit house on Coldwater Street. The paint was peeling, the shutters hung loosely, and the roof sagged as if weighed down by years of neglect. Fog clung to the ground, swirling around their feet, and a faint chill crawled up their spines. "Are we really doing this?" James whispered, trying to mask his fear. Emma didn't answer. She was staring at the dark windows, convinced she saw movement inside. The gate creaked as they pushed it open, the sound echoing unnaturally down the empty street. Every step on the cracked pavement made it feel like the house was watching them, waiting. The front door groaned as they entered, revealing a grand hallway covered in dust and cobwebs. Broken furniture was scattered across the floor, old newspapers littered the corners, and an unsettling cold seemed to press against their skin. Then came the first sound, a low, almost imperceptible whisper that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. Emma froze, heart pounding. "Did you hear that? Say, ask it." But James could only nod, eyes wide. Something inside that house was alive, and it wasn't going to let them leave unscathed. As they ventured deeper into the house, the temperature dropped, their breath visible in the dim light. Shadows seemed to stretch unnaturally along the cracked walls. A staircase led them to the upper floor, each step moaning as if warning them to turn back. In one room, old portraits hung crookedly, the eyes of the painted figures seeming to follow their every move. On the floor lay a dusty journal, its cover faded and brittle. Emma picked it up, flipping through the pages, revealing scrawled messages. "Do not enter. They are watching. The house takes what it wants." Suddenly, a door slammed somewhere behind them, sending a jolt of fear through their bodies. James tried to laugh it off, but his voice trembled. From the corner of her eye, Emma saw movement, a shadow darting across the hallway. They followed it into the kitchen, where the air smelled of decay. Cabinets creaked open on their own, and the faint sound of children laughing echoed faintly. It wasn't just the house, they were not alone. Something unseen was testing them, observing them, waiting for them to make the wrong move. Every instinct screamed at them to leave, but curiosity and dread held them fast. The house was alive, and it wanted them to see its secrets. On the third floor, behind a rotting bookcase, they discovered a hidden door, barely noticeable in the shadows. Emma's hand trembled as she pushed it open, revealing a narrow, dust-choked corridor that led to a small room. Inside, the walls were covered with strange symbols, smeared in what looked like old blood. Candles, long extinguished, were scattered across the floor, and in the center lay a circle drawn in chalk, almost glowing in the dim light. At first, it seemed abandoned, but then came the sound of soft footsteps, echoing in rhythm with their heartbeats. A rocking chair moved slightly on its own, as if someone or something had just left it. On a small table rested photographs of people they didn't recognize, faces scratched out, eyes blackened. Emma shivered. This isn't just an old house," she whispered. "It's something else." James nodded, frozen, as the room seemed to pulse, the air growing heavier with each passing second. Suddenly, the candlelight flickered, and a shadowy figure appeared in the corner, its shape indistinct but terrifyingly real. It watched them silently, waiting for a reaction. They wanted to run, but their feet felt rooted to the floor. The hidden room was not just a secret, it was a trap, a focal point of the house's malevolent energy, and it was far from empty. Panic set in as the shadow seemed to move closer, drifting without sound. Emma and James backed away slowly, but the room seemed to stretch endlessly, the walls closing in. The air vibrated with whispers, repeating their names, mocking their fear. Objects began flying across the room, invisible hands tossing old books, chairs, even a shattered mirror that cracked again. Emma grabbed James's arm, her nails digging into his skin, urging him to escape, but the shadow blocked their path. In a sudden flash, the room transformed. The walls appeared alive, covered in faces screaming silently, eyes hollow. The circle of chalk glowed brighter, and the air became almost suffocating, thick with malevolent intent. Emma remembered the journal and shouted the words she had read, hoping to break the hold. The shadow paused, tilting its form, almost confused. A piercing scream erupted from the walls, and the candle flames reignited, revealing the room as it had always been, a place of dark rituals, an echo of every horror that had ever occurred within these walls. Heart pounding, they realized the house wasn't just haunting it was feeding, drawing strength from fear itself. The shadow lunged, a final test, a boundary they had to cross to survive. Adrenaline surged as Emma and James bolted from the room, tearing down the narrow corridor. The house seemed to shift, doors closing behind them, hallways stretching, trapping them in a labyrinth of dread. Whispers followed, growing louder, echoing their deepest fears. Emma's hand found the front door, its knob icy to the touch. With a desperate push, they stumbled into the night, gasping for air. The fog swallowed the house behind them, and for a moment, it seemed almost normal, just another abandoned home on a quiet street. But as they ran down Coldwater Street, the feeling of being watched never left. The photographs, the chalk circle, the shadow, they lingered in their minds. Locals would later claim the house looked empty, silent, dead. But Emma and James knew better. Coldwater Street was a threshold, a living nightmare that would endure, patient and eternal. And sometimes, late at night, when the wind whistled just right, you could hear faint footsteps, soft whispers, and a door creaking, reminding anyone brave or foolish enough to wander close that the house was still alive, waiting for its next visitors. Fear had a home, and that home had a name: the house on Coldwater Street. And as the first light of dawn touched Coldwater Street, the house stood silent once more, its windows like dark, watchful eyes. But silence is a lie. Behind those walls, the shadows stir, whispering the names of those who dared enter, hungering for the next soul bravoure, foolish enough to cross its threshold. You can run, you can hide, but some doors should never be opened, and some stories are never meant to end. The house on Coldwater Street is still waiting, patient, eternal, and hungry. And if you ever walk past it at night, listen closely. You might just hear the soft creak of a door, the faint whisper of a warning, or the chilling promise that it's always watching, always hungry. And it will never let you forget that fear has a home, and its name is Coldwater Street.